Having just jumped off the bus from Leithport and on my happy pills, so my knees aren't going to hurt so much from my back most of all, I think now I'll walk down to those pinnacles that I see in the distance. And now we enter Princess Street Gardens. This, I think, is a description of Poo Lake, its origin. And if you can interpret the Scottish, maybe you can figure out what that says. This, I think, is a description of Poo Lake, its origin. And if you can interpret the Scottish, maybe you can figure out what that says. This is a floral clock built in 1903 and maintained since. And this also can be considered part of the Lake of Poo. Look at some of the micro plants. Make this up. Another shot of this pretty collection of buildings that we've looked at before up on the same side of Poo Lake that my hostel is. And that looks far more interesting, so I think I'll drop back down there. And here now we're on the opposite side of the castle that we were on yesterday. I wonder what this little house was originally for. I wonder what it's for now. But what a lovely place it would have been to live if you were the caretaker in this beautiful park. Where we are is a monument to the Royal Scots, the Royal Regiment. Around here are obelisks that apparently reflect each of the battles that they participated in, or at least the wars, and the major sites of those battles and wars written on the stones in between the obelisks. As much as I detest the glorification of war, sites like these are important to memorialize and to thank in some extremely small way, as did Gettysburg, the contributions of their lives, of the people who fought these wars when they were justifiable. And certainly, even if they were not, it was not the fault of these people who died. And so they must be given equal honor for having made the commitment when asked. It's the leaders of countries who start wars, or who were forced into wars, or who went into wars, whose motives and reasons must be questioned. This monument seems to have no inscription or explanation attached to it. And this nicely coiffed hedge in some kind of theater. This monument you'll see in a moment apparently is a contribution, a tribute by women of Scottish blood and sympathies from the United States of America to Scotland. A monument to Thomas Guthrie, D.D., preacher and philanthropist. Here, a monumental monument to exactly what I will have to search out, but dramatically posed before the castle. Note on this castle, the legitimate castles that I saw in Eastern Europe were differentiated by buildings that did not look like they were finished, new, and well used today as those are up there. But is that a set of stairs there? Has that look, doesn't it? I asked a young British woman if she knew what this monument was for, and she said no. But we both agreed that it's very impressive. And there behind it, the buildings I'm actually searching out. I'm sure this is the back of the church, so let's go find out what the front looks like. The last true castle that was up there was burnt by the Scots when they captured that castle, recaptured it from the British, and then burned it down on the assumption that if there were no castle, the British would have no incentive to go take it, or try to retake it. And we're looking back through that park. So we're entering the parish of St Cuthbert, and according to this plaque, it's believed that it's been operating continuously for 13 centuries. What an irony that I should look at other churches today that certainly have not been for 13 centuries and are no longer operable or operating. One of the important people buried here is John Napier, inventor of logarithms. How he could have imagined how logarithms would be used today. Here the obligatory placement of tombstones. I'm panning now because I'm going to go to the left instead of that direction. Now we see again the individual building-like structures or rooms for probably particular families. No doubt they paid a high price for these spaces. But on the other hand, they knew they were locking in eternity. Those were difficult times, even for the wealthy. 9 years of age dead, 11 years of age dead. And there really were people named Ebenezer. This tombstone in particular epitomizes the concept, or the implication of the concept, of stacked burials. All of these people perhaps lie under here. One of the problems with the tabletop tombstone, as I've described it, is that which you want to last the longest is most exposed in total to the elements. This is a peculiar design with the knobs on some stones and indentations on the other. Here David Swan, who died at 55 years of age in 1860, and his son died at 19 months. But this illustrates something else. Think of the wars that have occurred since the beginning of the Civil War of 1860. And then imagine that same time period from here moving forward. What kind of horrific things will I never know of? Here a woman buries her husband of 28 years after burying her son of 13 months, after burying another son of 10 months. What a heavy blow. But here she hopes that God, in the form of Jesus, when he was resurrected, brings even them back with him. What prompted the church to give this minister this incredibly elaborate memorial as opposed to others? Notice in this scene the incredible overlay, wash, if you will, of green. Green on the mold of the mold of the tombstones. Green of the trees, green of the grass. How Gothic is this example of a family's mausoleum? What a great name for an English novel. A pretty stone, a pretty cross. Reminiscent of the church we saw earlier today, with this facade wall, if you will, of arches, perhaps defining individual families' enclosures or not. Here a closer view of the outside. And who are these personages? And look at how pretty and beautifully done the ceiling is. And look at this marble. Even today, with cobwebs surrounding it, it's pretty. One additional thought: if the tombstones are to be believed, many men and many women truly loved their partners. Here's the back of that Gothic mausoleum we were looking at. As I pan across here, it looks as though purposely walls were built to either enclose certain areas like this one here, or to provide more wall space for more plaques.